Hi everyone, Melanie here and welcome back to my channel. This video is dedicated to all the people who have had unnecessary guilt trips placed on them by their family. If you can resonate with your family putting guilt trips on you for being shamed, for being blamed for things that weren't even your fault as a kid, maybe, just maybe, you were the scapegoat of the family. And if you're fed up of feeling guilty as an adult, if you're fed up with all the negative self-beliefs that you have internalized as a result from your family, well then listen on and maybe you'll find this helpful. So what does the term scapegoat actually mean? Well, it comes from the Old Testament, from Leviticus 16, in which Aaron chooses 2 goats from a herd, and 1 goat is a blood sacrifice to the Lord Jehovah, and the 2nd goat, which is named the Azazel, is one that is cast away. Now, Azazel is a Hebrew word meaning to remove, and in the Greek Old Testament, it means the sender away of one's sins. So, Aaron would cast all the sins of his tribe, all of them onto this 1 Azazel goat, and that goat would be sent out into the wilderness, banished from its herd. And as a result, the Israelite tribe were freed of their sins, and they could relax and feel at ease for the year. So basically, the tribe didn't atone for their sins, didn't try to make any sort of reparations, instead just put them all onto this goat, and this goat was sent out into the wilderness and had to fend for itself, and as such, being away from its pack, it was a lot more vulnerable to predators. Now let's apply this to us humans and into childhood growing up. This isn't done quite as overtly as literally selecting a goat and casting sins on it. It's done much more covertly. It happens a lot in dysfunctional families when we have parents or primary caregivers who themselves are traumatized and as such are not managing themselves and their emotions well, and instead of dealing with their problems, instead they'd like to blame it on a family member, and as such they feel that they can self-regulate again and keep blaming that family member. And it's not the weakling of the family. Instead, it tends to be the family member that stands out, the one who's a black sheep, the one who's cut from a different cloth, maybe one who likes to be a bit withdrawn and a bit of an introvert, or maybe it's the defiant one in the family. Tends to be the family member that doesn't fit in with the rest of the family. Yeah, they are the one who tend to be the scapegoat. They are the scapegoat of the family that all the other family members, maybe it's just the parents, they tend to get shunned. They will get the blame. They will get the finger pointed at, told you did this, you did that, you are this, and you are that. Now, as children, as a child, the child who's become the scapegoat, they don't realize why the parents are doing this. As a child, we perceive our parents to be gods, adults to know what they're doing. We assume that adults have got their stuff together, they've figured it out, they've got their shit together. But no, they haven't. Anyway, as kids, we can't fathom why our parents would do this to us. So instead, we believe that we deserve it, that we acted a certain way, that they're behaving like this because we must be bad. If my mum is saying these things and telling me I should be guilty, maybe I did do something bad, maybe I did something wrong. Now, there will be children who would fight back and say, but I haven't done anything wrong. Why are you saying this? Why are you doing this to me? And then maybe the parent or primary caregiver, whoever is doing the blaming and the shaming, maybe they will say to that kid, well, you're being selfish, you're being dramatic. It's all about you, isn't it? Whatever it is, over time, the child can learn to just accept defeat and placate and just kowtow, submit. It becomes a response because it just seems easier to do this than to challenge and fight back. Maybe some kids will become so angry that they end up becoming bullies themselves and taking out their anger on other kids. Or maybe these kids end up becoming bullied. There's low self-esteem and they just don't stand up for themselves because they've learnt not to do so in their family. It's a very painful time being a scapegoat, and it happens a lot. And a lot of people as adults don't realize actually that they were scapegoats in the past. Perhaps they've told themselves that I did deserve this, because like I just said, kids can't realize that parents are projecting their own shit out onto their children. They think they're worthy of all the blame and shame. And so the kid starts to internalize what the parents are saying, start to believe maybe I am unlovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm a bad person. Now these beliefs that we start to form in childhood and in adolescence, well, they don't just magically disappear when we become adults and we separate from the family. No, they haunt us, they follow us. And do you think that if you have such a poor self-image that you're going to attract a functional, healthy relationship? No. Often people who have been the scapegoat will end up attracting dysfunctional relationships and end up dating people who really not are good for us. All the while not quite realizing that these subconscious beliefs that are driving us are not our own. You see, when we were younger, through our parents perhaps gaslighting us and telling us that it's crazy, it's in our heads, and that actually, yeah, it is our fault when it wasn't really, we start to question our sense of reality, start to question our perceptions. Maybe I got it wrong. What is real? What is not real? And this carries on with us into adulthood. And over time, the longer it's gone on for unchecked, we don't realize that these beliefs were never ours in the first place, and we should never have shouldered this blame in the first place. As adults, we come to realize that our parents who did this to us, our siblings, the other caregivers who are shunning us and blaming us, that they were traumatized people themselves and didn't know how to handle it and were taking it out on their kids. Can appreciate that as an adult. As a kid, you don't get it. However, the self-beliefs are firmly rooted in the psyche. Now, we need to change these beliefs if we want to make a change in our relationship life. If you want to start attracting more healthier relationships, you need to change your beliefs. It all starts with your beliefs. They are the operating system of our vessel, and emotions are our magnetizers. So if we're dwelling on thoughts that we're not good enough, that we're bad people, that we deserve this, what kind of feelings is this going to evoke for you? Just horrible feelings of shame, of despair, of distress, of anxiety, of stress. And as such, we're even less tempted to address these issues. Instead, we're more likely to distract ourselves, to run away from them, to jump into the arms of someone else, and not make accurate judgments of people, and instead just jumping into the arms of anyone because you want to soothe this feeling of shame that you're holding. No. If you're having difficulties attracting what you want, if you're having difficulties of realizing your goals, making things happen for you, you always need to check out your assumptions and your internal beliefs. All our beliefs form our superego, and this is things that we've been told from family, from school, from our groups, from head teachers, whatever it is. It all forms part of our superego, and this is like the moral principle. This is our moral code of sorts. And when we have very negative self-beliefs, a very negative self-inner talk, how we talk to ourselves, then this is just going to create even more stress, even more shame, even more anxiety and disease. It needs to shift. We need to change the inner script. And sometimes there's a huge amount of resistance in doing this. We know on one hand that, yeah, we need to change our inner talk and affirmations and, hey, yeah, I am a good person after all, and la, la, la. And we don't do it. And why don't we do this? Why? Maybe in the past you were told off for checking out your assumptions. Maybe in the past when you confronted a family member and said, you're not happy, you don't deserve this, why are you doing this to me? And that parent gaslit you. Maybe that parent fought back and said, oh, you're being a drama queen. Stop being selfish. You're trying to gaslight you, making it still your problem. And as such, as a kid, we just learn to give up. Realize that it's not worth this fight. It's better just to placate, to submit, to kowtow. And as such, this is a defense mechanism that just carries on until adulthood. And as such, sometimes we just lose the motivation to challenge these thoughts. Maybe a part of us still feels scared to check them out with someone else. because we fear the past is going to happen again. That if we dare tell someone that we're not happy with how we've been treated, that this person will turn around and attack us for it, because that's what happened in the family. And as such, things don't really change. We don't end up changing our beliefs. We still keep thinking that the past is happening. We're still living a conditioned life in which, rather than speaking actually how we feel and voicing our needs, instead we're submitting, we're playing the fawning game and going with the flow and allowing them to say what they say just so that you can get on with things. No, not doing this anymore. Stop being the scapegoat. If you feel like you are carrying all the sins of your family, if you felt like everything I've said in this video that you can resonate with, now is the time to drop it. And we do it by challenging the negative self-beliefs. Now, when we're carrying so much guilt and so much shame, we need to take a pause. Before we slip into a shame spiral, we need to take a pause as soon as we get into that and think, where do these thoughts come from? Did I have a family member that was telling me this? Is this an ongoing thing from the past? We need to change the beliefs. If you want to change anything about yourself, the first thing is to change your inner talk. And that is to change the beliefs, to heal your superego of sorts, to literally take out all the shit that your parents have blamed you from and making peace with it. I'm not saying that you need to forgive, because you can't force forgiveness. Instead, we can only have compassion and understanding in the context of letting it go for ourselves. When we're hating on someone else, when we want to seek vengeance on someone else, we're hurting ourselves doing this. If we want to move on, then we need to let it go, basically. But at first, make peace with it. Make peace with yourself. Forgive yourself. You didn't deserve this as a kid. You did not deserve being blamed for things that were not yours. And as an adult now, you need to heal your inner child. If you feel like you keep having emotional flashbacks and you keep having memories of the past in which you were shamed, and it's creating such anxiety that it's holding you back in life, well, this is what you've got to do. You have to start making peace with yourself and forgiving yourself first. To have compassion for those who did this to us, it means that we ourselves are freed from this. When we have angry thoughts, thoughts of vengeance about the people who have done this to us, it's only hurting ourselves. It's not going to help us move on from this and let it go. In fact, the more we think about seeking vengeance on someone, the more we're tied to them energetically. If you want to move on from this, if you really want to change your beliefs, then we have to let that go. Things aren't going to change until you let go of all the sins that have been cast onto you. And it helps to get an awareness of this, to be conscious of this before we do it. Otherwise, we're just suppressing it, pretending it's not there. No, it actually helps to be conscious and be aware of all these sins that aren't ours, all this guilt that's been put onto us. We let it go by becoming aware of what this is, making peace with it, forgiving ourselves, having an understanding of why it happened, and choosing to do things differently this time. Choosing better self-belief. Literally change the opposite of what they said and practice it every day. Anytime you catch yourself feeling that you're unlovable, that you're a guilty person, that you deserved all this shit in your relationship that just broke down, it's always a two-way street. You're not solely the person to be blamed here. And if you're having difficulty with this, I can help you out. Drop me an email, melanieprsvp@gmail.com. I help people who are dealing with guilt, shame, and anger from family trauma and after breaking up from relationships. That's it for today. Let me know your thoughts. If you've got anything to contribute, please let me know in the comments below. If you like my videos, do like and subscribe. And until next time, have a great evening. Bye, everyone.